All right, we're going to welcome you back to the Principals Podcast. Today is a beautiful day. We're in March. It is March 2nd, and we have special guests today. First being Philip Colucci. How are you today?
I'm good.
This is excellent. We've been waiting to get you on this podcast for many, many years. Joining me, I have my traditional co-host, Mr. Hyam. What's going on?
Not much. How's everyone out there in Topper Land?
And we have a special co-host in Doug Snyder, who's probably on his 10th podcast in 3 years.
Hi, Phil.
So, Philip, you're a senior. Are you excited about this?
Yeah.
What are you most excited about?
Graduating.
Graduating. And we had a nice little conversation yesterday because you're going to be working on one of your graduation seals with Powder Puff, working with some of your classmates, which is a lot of fun. You've had such an extraordinary high school experience that no one can even imagine unless they are your classmates. Like, you've experienced some awesome experiences. What is probably one of the most memorable experiences that you will ever have as a Chardon Hilltopper?
Winning states 2 years in a row.
Yeah. And I have you on video in multiple plays throughout the course of the last several years where you're not just on the field, you have an instrumental role. Like, you have shadow blocked players so that our tailbacks can score touchdowns. It's been really awesome to see. I've known you since months and days. But I was really moved. This week with talking with Doug Snyder. He had a really powerful encounter with you in that beautiful high school last weekend. Let's talk about wrestling right from the start. You just finished wrestling for you. Your fellow classmates, their wrestlers, some of them are still on. What has it meant to you as a wrestler?
It means everything because starting with wrestling and then transitioning into football is like a great thing for me.
So when did you start wrestling?
Kindergarten.
Were you down like a part of like the takedown club groups, like the little rec wrestling?
Yeah.
And who was one of your early coaches?
Brian Hodder.
Brian Hodder, who's a Chardon alum. He's had a lot of his sons have been in the program. What inspires you about the sport of wrestling?
Just being able to compete with great teams, great wrestlers, everything around that.
And what do you think is one of your most classic moves there on the mats?
Fireman's carry.
Fireman's carry?
Yep.
So, Philip, what is the one thing that I tell you all the time for the past 5 years when I see you in the hallway?
Are your shoes tied?
Are your shoes tied? So let me ask you this question, because I know that Mr.
Answer yes, Phil.
Are your shoes tied today?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
Because this is no joke, Philip. Remember in 8th grade from the 400s, your shoes were untied, and you went about 7 stairs down the 400s down to the landing, and you got up, and you're like, "I'm good. And I'm like, "Philip, your shoes are untied. That's the problem."
Yeah.
He's like, "I never tie my shoes."
Yeah.
The real question we have: do you know how to tie your shoes?
Yes.
Okay.
2 words for you, Phil. Velcro.
Oh,
He's got a couple pair of those too.
I'll tell you, Phillips's smile and laugh is second to none. There's no one that has a better smile and a laugh here in this school.
So let me transition over to Mr. Hyam. He actively helps out with the wrestling team. You see him a lot. And then obviously Mr. Snyder is so active with all of our sports. So I'm going to transition to both you guys so you can ask him some questions.
Go ahead, Coach.
All right. So, couple things, Phil. Number one, as I watch high school athletes compete in sports, one of the things that I really enjoy is when kids figure out how cool it is to be part of a team and how cool it is to be part of something bigger than yourself. And generally that occurs either near the end of your high school career, or for a lot of kids, they don't really truly understand that until after they've graduated and they look back on it. I've always thought you, Phil, have understood how awesome it is to be on a part of a team throughout your whole career. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, being a part of a team is like something great for me. It gives me like the ability to talk to people that I know, I respect, and just being able to compete.
Yeah, so you've been a part of two, successful programs with CHS football and Chardon wrestling. Can you talk about how Coach Hewitt has impacted your life?
He's given me the resources to provide to others, just not being able to play, but still being able to help out the team, help out like people who need help with certain things.
So let's talk about that. I watched some of the football practices last fall, and it looked like you had taken on almost a coaching role. Explain that to those people who may not know about it.
So I would run the scout offense with one of the other coaches, basically telling them what their offense is going to run, and then we would run that offense for our defense, their offense for our defense.
Okay, and obviously the better for people who aren't tuned into football, the better the scout offense runs, the better our team is prepared for a Friday night game, right?
Yes.
So that's an important role, and I watched how you transitioned into that, and that was very cool, and I really enjoyed the connection between you and Coach Hewitt on that, and and that was fun to watch. I also know that there's a really strong bond between you and Coach Sal. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, he like growing up, he gave me the opportunity to wrestle. Just telling me, hey, after every match, if he would make it to youth events, hey, it's all right. You're one of the strongest, hardest workers I see after every practice. And basically, he's been my coach for about 4 years, but he's helped me out so much in wrestling.
That's awesome, and I saw how you get the moment you guys shared when after your last match last Saturday, and it was very, very powerful.
Yes.
So as you have progressed through your high school career, this is my last question, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Hyam. As you've progressed through your high school career, and people have seen you as a football player, and people have seen you as a wrestler, those of us who have known you forever, and by the way, it does feel like you've been at Chardon High School for 10 years, Phil. I mean, we're going to give you like the decade award when you graduate in May. And I mean that, in a loving way, of course. But as people outside of Chardon High School and outside of our community have gotten to know you, your career has taken on recently, especially with the News Herald article that the great John Camp did such an awesome job on, you've gotten some notoriety and well-deserved recognition for your, the guts that you have, the intestinal fortitude that you have, the resolve that it takes, the physical and mental toughness. How has that been when you've gotten some, again, well-deserved attention over the last, 6 months for your career?
Yeah. For me, like the attention doesn't matter. It's just being able to go perform the sports that I love and being able to do it with, once again, great teammates, great coaches, everything.
Well said. And my last comment to you, Phil, you're one of the two best looking people in this conversation.
Oh, you might be the best. Who's counting? Hey, so Phil,
let me jump back in. That's an inside joke. Ever since Phil was like a freshman or sophomore, and I'd see Phil in the hallway, and we'd stop and say hello, and I would always say, "Hey, Phil," and it's just he and I talking. "Hey, Phil, I want you to know you're one of the two best looking people in this conversation." And Phil, your response would be?
Me.
I'm going to call you once a month when you graduate and just tell you that.
So, Phil, I got a couple questions, and then we'll go into this or that because I know you want to have a little fun with the audience. Phil, I remember watching you run onto the football field and jump onto the dog pile after the first state title. And I also remember you over at the middle school. It wasn't at the high school, but over the middle school this season before the Riverside match under the spotlight. And, I mean, you were pumped. I mean, you were ready to go. Between those two moments, what would you take away from those two experiences you had there that I just described?
Once again, one with being the state title, it was great because, sophomore year, not expecting much out of varsity, but, we had a great team, great coaches once again. And the spotlight match, it's just like a great way to show like what the work you've done inside the wrestling room to the people who don't get to see you as much besides like parents and friends.
That was a special moment. I'm not sure. I think that crowd inside the gym was a little bit louder than the state title, but then again, I'm not sure about that. So Coach Snyder talked a little bit about those coaching experiences that you've had. Are you thinking about coming back and giving back to Chardon in some capacity in football and wrestling in the near future?
Yeah, just becoming a coach. Hopefully.
Both sports or one specifically?
Mainly wrestling.
Well, we could definitely use you in the wrestling room. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
We got some work to do. Is that what you're saying, or it's a comfort zone for you?
Got some work to do, especially, but it's a comfort place. Being able to be in the room and just work as hard as you can.
Phil, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. A little fun with these. There's no right or wrong answer, so just have a little fun with it, okay?
All right.
Would you rather ride a kangaroo or an eagle?
Eagle.
And why would that be, Philip?
I have no clue. Just an eagle seems more fun than a kangaroo.
Where do you?
I
know you love
I have
them
to
both.
jump in here. I tried not to. I can't help myself. So before you answer that question, I think we have to clarify one thing. Kangaroo, are we like talking about in the pouch, or are we talking like jumping on the back? Because I think those are two different answers.
Oh, we're jumping on the back for the ride. Come
No
on,
pouch?
Coach. No pouch. That's for the little ones.
All
You
right.
got to get on the back and have some fun with it, right?
All right. Good
Philip?
answer, Phil.
Hey, Philip, you love both sports, but if you had to go out on Friday night and only do one, what would it be, football or wrestling?
Wrestling.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, here's a tough one. Is it a fruit or is it a vegetable?
Fruit.
Coach Snyder?
Fruit.
And the maestro, Murray?
Yeah, it's a fruits that most people call a vegetable.
There you go. There you go. I got 2 last ones, and these are the tough ones, Philip.
All right.
Do you want to be loved or respected?
I feel respected because you can get more with respect than you can with love.
And as you walk out our doors here in the near future, and it's going to be around the corner very quickly, and Mr. Murray talks about it often. Once we get to spring sports, it seems like the school year just flies along. Do you want to be remembered as a hero or as a mentor?
Hero.
And what moment do you think set that in place for you?
Probably just this year going out and wrestling in front of the school.
It's a great moment. Great moment. Mr. Murray?
Well, Philip, this was really awesome, and I hope that you enjoyed being on the podcast. You are truly respected and loved, so you get the combo there. The thing about you as a student is you really understand humility. You are a very humble young man. You are a hero. A lot of people and even graduates from years past have reached out to me so impressed with your perseverance, your focus, and your opportunity, and your energy, and ultimately just your kindness. Students that I went to school with, students that were before me, and students that were after me, including some of the peers in which you're around. You're just someone that is very liked, enjoyed in the company of, and of others. And so I just want to give you a little bit of love here today because you earn it by just being you. Don't change being you. That's the most important thing. Do you have plans for when you walk across the stage and shake everyone's hand? Do you have any plans?
Probably try and get my coaching license and referee license in wrestling.
That'll be very good. There are a lot of Mr. Snyder can help you out with some of those OHSA certification courses.
No doubt
They're out
about it.
there.
All right.
So, Philip, we're at the point in the podcast where you give some shout outs. So, who you want to give a shout out to?
I want to give a shout out to my other senior, Aiden Croyle. And he's been putting in so much work since his freshman year of wrestling.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out just because I got the 96 grad with your mom. So I'm gonna give a shout out this week to your mom for her love, her compassion, her energy. You two are very similar, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Very similar. You have that same smile, same determination, and just that friendly personality. So my shout out this week goes out to your mom. Mr. Heim, Mr. Snyder, you got anybody?
I'll give a shout out in line with what Phil just said. We have 4 wrestlers who have qualified for the district meet on Friday and Saturday at North Canton Hoover. Will Vucetic, Aiden Croyle, Caden Foley, and Graham Husek. And then Will Benline is an alternate, although he's sick this week, and Aiden Hardesty or Austin Hardesty is an alternate as well. So I want to give a shout out to them and Coach Sal and wish them all the best this weekend at North Canton Hoover. Hopefully we'll have some state qualifiers to talk about next week.
I'm going to send a shout out to Annie Paul. She was only with us for a short period of time as a secretary here in the building, and she's done a nice job and kind of moving on in her professional career. And just a little shout out to Annie Paul for the work she's done for Mr. Murray and our building here to keep us moving along after the Queen retired.
Yeah. Hey, Philip, I have one last question. I think we all know like your favorite venue for playing football, but not many people know about, venues for wrestling besides the barn, because that's that intimate place. Is there a place that you actually liked to go to for road trips? Like, because you go to a lot of cool places.
Yeah. Probably my most favorite place to go was Boardman High School.
You like Boardman? What about Boardman did you like?
Just how open the gym was and about like how close, because I used to wrestle open tournaments there.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Mr. Snyder, where were they last weekend? Was that Wadsworth?
Yes, Wadsworth High School.
Did you like that gym, Philip?
Yeah, it was nice. Pretty big.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
Well, Philip, thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk to some of your teachers and tell them, that you actually earned class credit by being with us. You were being interviewed for the most popular podcast inside of this office. So congratulations for joining us. We really, 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 really appreciate you. And as always, everyone, go Toppers.
Go Toppers.
See you.